I did a video a little while back about the Studebaker-Packard merger, and I asked if that was the worst merger in history. I believe that there is one that tops it. In fact, it absolutely takes the cake. May 1999. The Daimler-Chrysler merger is officially official after being announced in 1998. However, we have to back up a little bit more back to 1995. Over at Daimler Mercedes in 1995, the new chairman of the board of management, Jürgen E. Schrempp, I'm American by the way, so please don't slate me in the comments if I mispronounce his name, initiated a strategic realignment of the group since many of the existing business branches did not enjoy a favorable position in the ever-competitive automaker market. The portfolio was focused by parting with, wow, it looks a lot like in the F word, selling, I'm not even going to try and say this, and additionally dissolving AEG. This move, together with measures designed to boost competitiveness, was intended to strengthen the earning power of the group, which now concentrated on automotive mobility, transportation, and services. Taking advancing globalization into account, among other things, car production was taken up in Tuscaloosa in 1995, and in 1998 the merger with Chrysler Corporation to form Daimler Chrysler AG was announced. The intention of the merger was to safeguard the long-term competitiveness of the companies involved. At the time, this merger was the largest industrial merger in history. The automotive industry was becoming more competitive by the day. This merger was also meant to strengthen their partnership against the Japanese and also help usher in strategies against the environmental concerns that hung over the industry like a ticking time bomb. Daimler saw it as a way to get a foothold into the American markets, and for Chrysler, they would be acquiring some Mercedes platforms and mechanical pieces which they could use to build new products with, such as the Mercedes independent rear suspension on the Chrysler Crossfire and the Chrysler ME 412 concept car. Right from the beginning, the red flags were waving high in the sky. Daimler tried different strategies to help bring the companies closer together, like meetings and seminars, but multiple former employees have spoken of cultural clashes. One key issue was Daimler's pride in Mercedes, just like every Mercedes owner. Meanwhile, Chrysler staff disliked the perception that their products were inferior, which, realistically speaking, they were, besides the fact that American engineering was simpler than German engineering. However, you have to remember that at this time, Chrysler was still a somewhat respectable luxury brand compared to the travesty that it is now, besides a $1.5 billion bailout from the government in 1980. Another thorn in the side of this merger was the fact that some Mercedes-Benz dealers outright refused to offer Dodge or Jeep models. And you know what? I don't blame them. Look at the difference. Anywho, like not trusting your ex begging to come back into your life. Mercedes was reluctant to trust the factory line and quality control system used by Chrysler. And again, I don't blame them. Look at these recalls. And this is where the truth comes to light. Daimler had truly pulled off a takeover. Bob Eaton, Chrysler chief executive, became joint CEO alongside Jürgen Schrempp. It's not Shrimp. It's not Shrimp. Alongside Jürgen Schrempp, but the pair reportedly spoke infrequently. It's been suggested that Jürgen was reluctant to meddle with stateside operations, while others say Eaton swiftly became detached to a company he once ran dynamically.
What is the power of inspiration? Can a car be beautiful yet capable in all seasons? Yes, with the ESP and all-speed traction control. Can a 340 horsepower Hemi give you fuel efficiency without sacrificing power? With advanced MDS technology, it just did.
Whatever the case, Eaton left in 2000 following many high-level Chrysler executives. This left the company on shaky grounds at best. Later on, Mr. Schrempp, I'm just going to call him that, I don't care, admitted in an interview with a German newspaper that Chrysler was always meant to just be a subsidiary of Daimler. In 2001, Chrysler's U.S. market share had dropped to an eye-watering 14%. Its failure to adjust to the growing demand for smaller, more efficient cars, rather than sports utility vehicles and pickup trucks, left it badly exposed as the U.S. economy slumped. This is when the levee finally broke. From a profit of 531 million euros the previous year, Chrysler lost 2.2 billion euros in 2001. In 2002, there was some false hope as the company recovered with an operating profit of $1.32 billion, or euros, sorry. but lost 506 million euros in 2003 as restructuring costs began to bite. It bounced back in 2004 with a profit of 1.4 billion euros, partly due to price cuts, but well, that's fine. That's fine. It's kind of like Manchester United. And in 2005, it grew its operating profit to 1.5 billion euros, but then followed that up with, you guessed it, a loss of 1.11 billion euros in 2006. Mr. Shrimp retired early at the end of 2005, having received backlash from shareholders who held the belief that Daimler paid too much for the red-headed stepchild of the Big Three. His successor admitted in 2007 that a breakup was imminent. Announcing 13,000 job cuts, he said all options were under consideration in his efforts to find the best solution for both Chrysler Group and Daimler Chrysler. From that point, the question became how much a new suitor would pay for Chrysler. At $7.4 billion, the answer turned out to be just a fifth of what Mr. Shrimp saw fit to splash out 9 years ago. And I have to say, even $7.4 billion feels like being overcharged. So where did that leave Chrysler? Well, GM was reportedly interested in buying Chrysler. However, GM dodged that bullet, and Chrysler ended up being sold to the American private equity firm Cerberus, I think that's how you say it, Capital Management. Long story short, they traded hands a couple more times before falling into the lovely hands of Stellantis, which was formed by merging Fiat Chrysler Automobiles and the French automaker Groupe PSA. How has Chrysler fared since then? Well, it depends on who you ask. The company will be turning 100 soon, and will be hoping to put a 60% sales drop in the last decade behind them. As CEO Chris Fuel noted, there are exciting new releases on the horizon, including a product inspired by the Halcyon. But will it be enough? Can Christine Fuel lead Chrysler back to its former heights, just like how Lee Iacocca did it with their ever so famous minivan? Or will the Chrysler and Daimler merger be reflected on in history as the beginning of the end for this often maligned company? Time will only tell. However, the next few years over at Chrysler will be interesting to keep an eye on. Stay hydrated, take care of yourself and your loved ones, and peace.